Great. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever you're joining us from, and welcome to today's webinar. Today, we're going to be focused on what's new in Now Assist for integrated risk management. We also have another session today that is talking about, it's a special webinar that's featuring our ServiceNow experts and a best-selling author, Sam Conniff. And this session's going to focus on turning bold ideas into bold action in an AI-driven world. And you can get your questions answered by live CRM experts. So if that's of interest to you, there's a QR code there for you to register, and that's playing a couple of times today. As you're likely aware, we're rapidly releasing new AI capabilities, features, and products that leverage AI and Gen AI to help you in Agentic AI to help you in your roles. In this session, we're going to specifically focus on 3 features that we released in May for IRM. This is by no means the extent of AI offerings for risk, and I'll share in the chat a few additional resources that will show you more. But first, before we get into it, I do have to go over a few housekeeping tips and our safe harbor statement. As you know, we try to be as transparent as possible in these sessions, but as a public company, we do have some limitations. Please take anything that we talk about today about future development or features as we intend. We want to share with you our vision, but we know when it comes to development, sometimes those timelines and priorities can shift. So our statements are guidelines at best and should be not be used for any purchase decisions nor investments. From a housekeeping perspective, everyone is on mute, but that doesn't mean we don't want you to ask or we're not going to be able to answer your questions. Feel free to use the Q&A feature to ask specific questions, and we'll go over them and get to them as quickly as possible. We have a few people on the line that are experts working on the teams that are developing these products, so definitely put your questions in the Q&A. If we cannot get to your question, because we may run out of time, we do think we're going to go a little long today. The session is being recorded. If we don't get your question, we will follow up. And if you want to access the session afterwards, it will be available in the ServiceNow community forum and on our YouTube channel, or you can share it with colleagues at that time. It's usually about 48 hours from the recording, so definitely keep an eye out for that. Additionally, keep an eye out for the short survey that we send at the end of every session. If you do receive this survey, we'd love for you to take a few minutes to complete it because it helps us improve our sessions moving forward. Another session that we had yesterday that I wanted to point out to you is we talked about the agentic AI use case where we're using AI agents to optimize the GRC issue resolution workflow. Like this session, that recording will be made available to your community and in the YouTube channel shortly. If you haven't investigated our AI control tower, I have that linked here as well. Super exciting. It was announced at Knowledge, a lot going on there. So this is a really good demo to show you and introduce you to that product. And then the final QR code that we have there is where you can keep up to date with all our risk and ESG sessions and events moving forward. But everything that we're showing today is available and ready for you to use because it was announced in May at our Knowledge event. And let's move on to our speakers so I can get them to show you the product in action. So Anushri and Anoop will be representing our inbound product management teams today. Anushri is a senior manager in our risk BU, and she's been with ServiceNow for close to a decade. So you can imagine the impact she's had on building our risk products. She holds a master's degree in information systems and operations management, and prior to ServiceNow, she worked as a business systems analyst, technical lead, and application developer at some of the world's leading technology and financial service organizations. So welcome, Anushri. We're happy to have you today. Anoop is also in our inbound product management team, working with teams that bring the product to life. And while being at ServiceNow for a little less than 2 years, he is an accomplished product professional in his own right with more than 15 years product management experience in designing and launching GRC products at some of our more well-known competitors. So Anoop, we're glad you made the right choice and eventually joined the winning team. Finally, I want to introduce you to Andy. Many of you may know Andy as one of our amazing outbound product managers. He's well versed in everything ServiceNow risk, as he spends much of his time interacting with customers, primarily where he's based in Europe, but generally he can be seen all over the globe talking about risk. Andy's been with the company more than 3 years, and he has a deep background in GRC. He spent much of his entire career consulting in this space, again for nearly a decade. So we also have several folks that I mentioned in the Q&A that I want to remember to thank as well. They'll be here to answer questions as the presenters talk and demo. So with that, I'm going to leave you guys in Andy's hands, I believe, and I'll start putting some links in the chat for you to get to some of those other sessions if they're of interest. So Andy.
Excellent. Thanks, Roz. Thanks for that very lovely intro. Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's session. We're cautious of time today, so I'm going to get straight into it and show you our first new feature with Now Assist. So the first one we're going to show you is the risk assessment summarization. So here you can actually see on the screenshot, I'm going to show you a demo of this in 1 second as well. And the idea behind it is that we can use a skill in ServiceNow, Now Assist, to summarize the assessments and really speed up that process for our assessors and also our approvers when they're going through and they've completed their assessment and they want to have a nice summary of that to understand, what's the assessment overview, what's the inherent assessment, control assessment, residual, target, and risk response, and have that in a nice consolidated summary that they can then copy into the submission for the assessment, but also copy it into other fields on the record if they want to really improve the efficiency and also enhance consistency though with our customers when they are submitting their risks for approval and assessment. So all of these features that I think Roz mentioned are available for our IRM Professional Plus and Enterprise Plus licenses. But with that, I will jump straight into the demo. I apologize, I've realized that I've shared the wrong part of my screen, so I'm just going to re-share that so I can share the actual Chrome with you, and I'll jump through the demo for you that in more detail. Roz, can you just confirm that you can see my Chrome?
I can.
Perfect. Excellent. Okay. So here I'm logged in as Alex Clary. He's one of our risk assessors. And I'm just going to quickly navigate to one of his tasks that he has pending. And he's got here some risk assessment tasks that he needs to do. Now here you can actually see, I've already done this already, but here you can see a summary of the risk assessment. And here I can go through and I can click into it if I want to and understand the risk assessment in more detail. Or if I want to, I can quickly click summarize and it'll then present me this summary in terms of, do I have any open issues? What's the risk response tasks do I have in place? Do I have any open action items as well for the risk response tasks? In this case, I don't have any at the moment, but it also gives me a nice overview for the inherent assessment, control assessment, residual, target, and risk response here. From here, though, I can also go through and share this to the assessment summary if I want to. So I can go down here and I could also add in more details as well. So if for whatever reason you don't quite agree with the AI summary, you can always amend that here and add in your own contextual information for that. But for now, I'm happy with it. I'm going to click save and you'll see that it will copy down that into the assessment summary here. And also nice feature though that we've had and we've included in here is if I just click resume here for this one, and then when I go through and click submit for it, I can also include it here for the AI risk assessment summarization, again, to include that in the submission of the assessment to the approver. So I can again click here to use Now Assist to generate this risk assessment summary. Again, I can add in more contextual information for that if I want to. So here I've just done it again. I can reinsert that if I want to. I'll leave it for now though. But you get the idea that I can then go through, add in more context to this assessment, add in some additional comments though, and then once I'm happy, obviously I can submit that through. So I won't go through the whole workflow today, but you can imagine then when the assessor comes into their workspace, they can look at their assessment tasks, quickly review the assessment summary, and really speed up that time frame from when they come into, they don't have to click in to see all of the key impacts potentially for these different areas of risk. They can just review the assessment summary, can also show any issues, response tasks that they have here. in terms of here you can see different impacts for client impacts, different points here. I can review that and click approve, or they can reject the risk assessment summary here as well. So really speeding up the time there for that. As Ross said, if you have any questions on those, please feel free to add them into the Q&A and we'll go through and respond to those as we go. But with that, let me just switch to share again, and I will start sharing back the actual PowerPoint. And we'll jump through to the next feature that we have to show you today. So the next feature is AI-driven regulatory alert summarization and mapping. So this is using our regulatory change management product. And just to give a bit of context for some clients who don't know about the regulatory change management product, it's a really powerful product that we have within our IRM product suite. And what we can use it for is to help our clients keep abreast of all those constantly changing and updating regulations and control frameworks that are out there that they need to they need to adhere to for those regulations. So we have alert feeds coming in. So we have, third-party alert feeds like Thomson Reuters, Cube, LexisNexis, Rigology, and those integrations are available off the shelf on the ServiceNow store to bring in those alerts. Now, those alerts typically are written in quite verbose language. So what we've at first enabled is a summarization of those alerts. So here you can see on the screenshot, it outlines the key important dates, the regulatory authority, summary of those key changes, and any penalties or fines. So really, again, bring out the key information to improve the efficiency of when clients are reading these alerts to say, okay, what do I need to do with it from here? But we've actually gone a step beyond that as well. And we've also then started to do regulatory mapping. So what we've started to do is get the AI to give us recommendations from the alerts coming in to say, okay, there's an update to a new regulation. Let's take an EMEA one for the DORA, the Digital Operational Resilience Act. What citations will I need to update in my instance of ServiceNow, or what control objectives do I also need to update? So it's pulling that information together to help you analyze and identify your impact radius, you could call it, within your organization, to say, what do I need to change from this updated regulation? And then you can take those changes, build those into your change management lifecycle, and actually start implementing that in the business. But for now, I will stop talking because I always think a picture paints 1,000 words, and I'll hand it over to Anoop to actually give you a demo and go into more detail for that.
Thank you so much, Andy. Let me just start sharing the screen. Can you just confirm if you're able to see the screen? Yep.
Yep, we can.
Great. Thanks, Andy. Thanks for the wonderful context. So hello, everyone. Good morning and good evening. I will briefly touch upon some of those two AI features that has been launched as part of the regulatory change product. The first one being about AI-driven regulatory alert summarization. As you're familiar, the volume of regulatory alerts that comes in your inbox or your landing page is alarmingly high. Now, what if that AI can actually do the job just to give you a presentable outcome, which is more detailed and more actionable summary for you? And that's the beauty of what ServiceNow's Now Alert capability does. It kind of reads through the detailed information of regulatory alert and gives you that information that is more relevant and prominent for you. For example, as we're dealing into the digital operation resilience regulatory alert, here's an information layout that we have seeded most externally from one of the public sources. Now, on the overview page, you will come across there are two individual actions that you can perform. One is around the summarization request. Now, what this does is it performs a job, kind of look into the details of the detailed description and any additional information that has been seeded for this regulatory alert. Now, in a flash, you get to see all those critical information in a nice actionable summary. Looking into the details, what are the important milestone dates that a compliance practitioner has to watch out for? What are the regulatory authority information that has been tagged along, which focuses on the type of regulation, which jurisdictions it applies, and much more. Not to mention, you also get to get a glimpse on the summary of those key changes that has been introduced by the so-and-so regulatory update. If there are any penalties or fines that has been disclosed by the regulator, that gets auto-captured as well as part of the summarization result. And as part of the outcome by the compliance practitioner, you can revise it or amend it for further review and conclusion. Now, the journey doesn't end over here. We are taking this to the next level wherein looking into the details that the LLM tool has been predicted or the Now Assist tool, you are now able to recommend what are those ideal recommendations or that can be looked upon for regulatory mapping purpose. Over here, with this request of recommending, the system is now going to look into your inventory of compliance data, such as your inventory of citations and control objectives, and figure out if there is a close match based on various parameters or various logic that has been built in the application. It tries to fetch in these are your ideal citations that you can go ahead and associate it for evaluation. Now, as you see in this particular example, it tries to bring up the ICT related incident reporting citation for review and evaluation. It also looks into the details such as the detailed description, the title, and any other information that will help in boosting the overall precision and the accuracy of the result. Not to mention, you can also look into the details of the supplemental guidance, which gives you more rich contextual information for faster decision-making process. Last but not the least, if you scroll down, we are not only looking into that one focused item, we also look into the more contextual associations that has been related. For example, this citation record could be related to child citations and additional control objectives. So as a compliance practitioner, you get to see in one view what are those activities that you can go ahead and associate them. We also look into the control objective records as well. So based on the contextual mapping that has been recognized, you will get to see all those inventory of control objectives as well that you can either accept or dismiss if the recommendation is valid or wrong. From then on, the necessary steps can be performed by conducting an impact radius calculation. What this means is you get to see a complete view of these are the impacted areas or the impacted business operations that need to be looked upon. So you can work on creating a change task and respective action tasks can be triggered for further evaluation. For demo purpose, I have one which has currently been in flight. Let me just bring that, which is talking in context of the Basel publication. As I launch this record, you will notice these are the impacted business operations that has been recommended by the AI-powered solution. We have a series of tasks that has been launched so that each of these respective owners can work on individually. These could be depending on the citation amendments, policy revisions, or it could require any legal review implications as well due to the nature of the regulatory change. This nature of the life cycle remains as it is as we speak, so you can work and manage your individual tasks. So these are the two exciting AI features that has been launched as part of the AI capability in the May release, and we truly believe that with these capabilities, we are ensuring that we are helping our customers to make smarter and faster decisions using these Now Assist capabilities. Thank you for listening, and we will definitely certainly answer any specific questions on this topic. But in the interest of time, I will hand it over to the next interesting item that we will cover as part of the policy and compliance. Over to you, Andy.
Excellent. Thanks, Anoop. I will quickly share my screen again, and then we'll go from there. A really interesting one. All I would say is keep abreast of those stuff coming out with reg change. I know Anoop's got loads up his sleeve that's coming out in the future for that. So this is the tip of the iceberg, I would say, for those AI use cases for regulatory change management. Some really interesting things coming.
Andy,
Um,
before you pass it over, we do have
sure.
some questions that are
Oh,
open.
okay, perfect.
So I was just wondering if you might be able to look at those first, and then we can get Anushree set up with a clean slate.
Absolutely. Okay, sure, no problem. So, a few questions have come in terms of regulatory change and how do we get those information in with regards to, or what the process is with regards to the regulations and the updates. So, Anoop covered them off briefly as well. So, just on a very high level, regulatory change management is with regards to alerts coming into ServiceNow, and those alerts typically come in from third-party alert tools. So you have the likes of Thomson Reuters, LexisNexis, Cube, Brigology. And what those tools do is they give constant feeds of updates to regulations that are coming out in the market and control feeds. We have off-the-shelf integrations in ServiceNow Store that can take those feeds, pull them into ServiceNow, and it creates them as alert records, which then users and clients can action just as Anoop went through in terms of summarizing them, getting the AI to use the recommendations, but also actually, regardless of the AI, creating actions from theirs and tasks to say these are the changes we need to make and what we need to make in the organization with regards to the compliance information we have within ServiceNow. So these are the controls we need to update. These are the policies we need to update. These are the citations we need to update as well. I hope that answers the question. Anoop, have I forgotten anything there, do you think?
No, you have certainly answered it very well, Andy. And I am also
Okay,
some of those questions that has been raised. And thank you so much. Please feel free to post it on the Q&A.
perfect. I should say as well, I have said how a lot of our clients use third-party tools to bring them in, but also you can do it all manually. So you don't have to have the third-party tool. You can create the alerts or create the change points yourself. So I know some clients keep abreast of the regulations they need to adhere to, and then they create those alerts in a way themselves or those change points, um, change tasks themselves to say, yep, I know this is regulations being updated. I'll create a change task so I can monitor that and give tasks out to my other team members and how we can update those as well. I'll just have a quick look. I know Anoop is flying through these questions, which is great. Oh yeah, sorry, I've just answered that one in terms of can you do it manually? Yes, you can do it, and you can import them in as well. Are the impacted areas automatically identified and recommended by Now Assist? Yes, they are. So it reads the alert that's come in, it reads the regulation, and then automatically pulls through the relevant controls, again, based on their information, the name, the description, and also the citations. And as I said, keep an eye out because also we're expanding this in the future to pull through other things as well. So keep an eye out for that and make sure you attend the roadmap sessions if you're interested in as well with what's coming down the road. Can we modify the out-the-box summarization? Yes, you can. So we've actually not covered it in today's session, but we initially released issue summarization in January, and there is a video on the YouTube playlist for GRC for what's new in Yokohama, and it was issue summarization. And our colleague Srinivas actually went through in great detail how the summarization skill works, but also how you can amend the summaries that come out of these summarizations as well. So we've shown you two today for the risk assessment summarization and also the regulatory alert summarization, but you can amend those as well. Is it considered a customization is the question? I don't think I can quite say. Some clients have different definitions of customization, but it is all within the configuration parameters within ServiceNow. So you can change the paragraphs, you can change the text, how you want to pull that in, all within the Now Assist admin panel for that. Awesome. Okay. I'm just cautious of time. I think if it's okay, Roz, I'll hand over to Anushree so that
Yep.
make sure I give her enough time and me and Anoop will continue to answer these questions here and there.
Fantastic. I just wanted a couple of the more general questions to be answered live so that everyone could benefit, but I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
No problem. Yeah, so with that, I'll hand over to Anushree.
Thanks, Andy. Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm happy to be here and excited to talk about a feature that we released for control objective deduplication and rationalization using GenAI. With this feature, you could streamline processes by identifying and eliminating any redundant or duplicate control objectives in your system, which would definitely help boost efficiency of your compliance teams. This highlights the most relevant control objectives. The system recommends the most relevant control objectives and also provides the association with associations such as citations, policies, risk statements that you have with those control objectives. It helps you consolidate the control objectives and retain one of them and deduplicate the others, which definitely leads to simplifying the testing where you have a clear set of unique control objectives in your system rather than having duplicates or similar control objectives. With that, I'm going to take you over the rationalization process flow here quickly before we get into the demo. So the rationalization process has 4 different stages. It starts with initiate stage, where the control objective owner or compliance team member could come in and initiate the rationalization process. They could go to maybe a new control objective that they are creating or a control objective they are updating. They can start the rationalization process from the control objective to view what are the other similar control objectives or duplicates that might exist in the system. That gets initiated in the initiate state where the control objective owner can start analyzing the control objectives using the GenAI capability. So when it moves to analyze state, the system starts recommending the similar control objectives that exist, and the control objective owner or a compliance team member has a choice of either accepting the relevant one, dismissing if something doesn't make sense, and retaining one of them, which you would want to keep, and deduplicate the others. During this process, of course, then there is a review process as well. So the approvers or reviewers would come in at this time, review what has been done by the compliance team or a control objective owner, and they would be able to approve or review the recommendations, whether they've accepted or dismissed or retained, and they can provide their own suggestions as well. After this is done, then the process moves into the next state, which is consolidate, where the similar control objectives which have been accepted can be consolidated into basically one of them can be retained and the other ones can be deduplicated. The way we would do that is we would look at the associations that exist in those control objectives that are similar to the retained one, where there could be policies, citations, risk statements, indicator templates, test templates, etc., that you would want to copy over to the retained control objective. You don't want to lose track of them. So this particular stage or state in the process helps with that. This is where the control objective owner, compliance team would come in and decide which are these associations that can be copied over into the retained control objective. Once this is done, there's again a review process where approvers or reviewers can provide their opinion around what can be dismissed, what can be accepted. Once that is done, finally, the process moves into the closed state where the whole rationalization process is confirmed. And once it's confirmed, the retained, the one that is retained is the control objective, which is the one that is retained in the system, and all the other similar control objectives will be deduplicated and retired at this point. So this is the whole process end to end, and I will shortly get into the demo. So this is my compliance workspace where you can see a list of all the control objectives. We have a new menu for rationalization process and rationalization of control objectives. In future, we could have rationalization of citations or other objects. For now, we have rationalization process for control objectives. I'm going to start off with one of the control objectives here.
Sorry, sorry to interrupt. Are you sharing your screen? Just want to double check.
Oh, you're not able to see my
see
screen?
it, Andy. It might be that you just have the flipped
Oh,
view.
ignore me. Sorry. My
Yeah, no
fault.
problem. Happens a
Just
lot
wanted
when
to
we're
double check.
presenting.
All right, so here is a control objective that I'm on, and I want to see if there are any similar or duplicate control objectives in the system. So I do see this new UI action or button on my control objective. When I click into it, it'll take me into the rationalization process. I have already initiated or started the analysis or recommendation of the control objective. So the state has moved from initiate to analyze, and you'll be able to see all the similar control objectives suggested by the system. I could go into each one of them and understand the details, and I can decide which one I want to retain, which ones are duplicate, or which one don't make sense. So looking at this, maybe I'll start walking through them. So let me go ahead and probably look at the details, and I feel like this might not be a duplicate control objective. So I'm going to go ahead and dismiss this one. Go ahead and accept this one. And this looks similar as well. So I'm going to go ahead and accept it, provide my reasoning. And this is the one I probably want to retain, which covers all the criteria, all the description that might be similar in other control objectives as well. So this is the one I want to retain. So I'm going to go ahead and retain this as primary and provide my explanation as well. And I'm going to go ahead and accept the last one as well. There's one more. Okay. So once this is done, and you'll be able to see the log of all the actions that I've performed on the right-hand side as well. And you can see it captures the owner name and what is the input from the owner and the justification, etc. Once this is done, I can then send it for a review to my request to my approver for them to review and make sure that this makes sense. If they have a difference in the opinion, they can provide me suggestions. So let's go ahead and request review. Once I request review, this goes out to my reviewer, who's Carrie. So I'm going to log in as Carrie. And Carrie would be able to go ahead and approve this. So if you see here, Carrie can also provide her decision of what this is, in her opinion. If she wants to go ahead and say, okay, this is not dismissed, this needs to be accepted, she can provide her own decision as well. So I can go ahead and do that. This looks similar. And once that is done, the decision on the cards is not changed. But if you go and look at the side panel for the summary, you'll be able to see the decision that is changed or given by Carrie. So as an owner, you'd be able to look at the recommendation provided by the reviewer or approver, and you can make a change accordingly. So for time, just for the demo purpose, I'm just going to go ahead and approve this record. I could also reject it, and it would go back to the owner, who can then make appropriate changes to these cards. So I'm going to go ahead and approve this. I can provide my justification as well. Once that is done, this particular record is approved, which means you can now move on to the next state. So I'm going to log back as the owner. And go back to the rationalization process, open this up. And I would be able to see all the comments from my approver and make changes accordingly. So if I want to go ahead and make that change, I can do that. Now, everything is ready. All the review changes are in, and I'm comfortable to move forward into the next state. So I'm going to go ahead and click on consolidate, which will take us to the next state where I can further look at the associations and take actions on it. So I'm going to go ahead. And look at my retain control objective, which I want to retain, and the other accepted ones are the ones which are going to get deduplicated and retired at the end of the process. The ones that is dismissed is not going to be considered while deduplication. So I'm going to go ahead and review everything around this control objective. I am able to see that there are some associations under this control objective. I can see different policies that are coming from not only this particular control objective, but also from the control objective that have been accepted. I can see the list of citations that are coming from all the control objectives that have been accepted to be deduplicated. I can see the risk statements or even the test templates or indicator templates. So this is a consolidated list of all the associations coming from the other similar control objectives. Now, even here, I can make a decision whether something is applicable or not. and I can either dismiss it if required. By default, everything is accepted. So by default, everything is considered to be moved over. But if I think that something is not applicable, I can go ahead and dismiss this. So when I do that, this is going to get dismissed, which means this particular citation will not be associated with the control objective when I complete or close out this rationalization process. Everything else looks good to me. I can also see there are some impacted items, which means there are 11 controls and 1 issue under this particular control objective. If I want to get into more details, I can go and look at the issues. And before I deduplicate, I can take actions on the open items. I can maybe close up the issue if it is not applicable, and then move forward in the process. Once I make my selection here again as an owner, I can again request a review for my approver to come in and look at the associations and provide their suggestions. So I'm going to go ahead and request review. The approval has gone to carry again. And this is the configurable approval rule. So you can define multiple levels of approvals and conditions who you want to send the approval to, and the approvals will be triggered accordingly. So I'm going to go ahead and approve this record. This looks good. You can always reject if you want to, and it'll go back to the owner to make the appropriate changes as suggested by the approver. Again, approver would have an option to provide their comments as well, or their decision. So if they decide that this should be accepted instead of dismissed, they can provide their suggestion, and the owner can consider those suggestions and make the changes appropriately. So I'm going to go ahead and approve this record at this point. And all the approval comments are captured in the activity log for the history purpose. And you can always see the summary of the changes that are made either on the associations, also on the recommendations on the side panel. So you can always go back to the history here. So once this is done, I'm going to go ahead and log in back as the owner. Let's go to the rationalization process again. And at this point, I'm at the final stage where I have all my recommendation and I feel comfortable closing out this rationalization process. And at the end of the rationalization process, when I confirm it, it is going to retain only one control objective and deduplicate or retire the other. So I'm going to go ahead and confirm this choice. It gives me information around what's going to happen once I confirm. It also asks me to review my impacted items, because at the end of the process, all of them also will be retired if they're associated with the control objective that are going to be deduplicated. I'm going to go ahead and confirm at this point. Once that is done, the rationalization process will be closed, but the history of the process is retained. And I can now go to this retain control objective and look at that and see how it looks like. You can see that this is the control objective, which is now which is the one which is retained. And you'll be able to see everything under it, which has been moved over from the other control objectives. So all the associations are retained, nothing is lost, and this particular control objective is retained. Now, if I go back to the rationalization process and go to one of the control objectives that was accepted, you would be able to see that this control objective is now inactive, and this is in anything that is under that is also inactive or retired. So there are no control objectives controls here, but if they were, they will be retired as well. So this is my deduplicated control objective. It's no more active, but I do have one retained control objective at the end. So this is the whole rationalization process end to end. Please let me know if there are any questions. Happy to answer them on the chat as well.
So I think there's some questions that have come in that I know the team is feverishly trying to answer. If you want to take a look at the Q&A, that's probably the best place to see if there's anything you want to answer live. Otherwise, we can continue on.
Anushree,
just
there's a
like-
few questions on, I know you've just covered it, but could you just reiterate it for everyone? Just quite a few questions have come in about what happens to the related objects around the controls that you've marked as duplicate. So issues, other things related to the controls. If you could just reiterate that, that'd be great. If you could,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah, absolutely. So the control objective, which is retained, there's a choice. I mean, the other control objectives that are accepted or will be deduplicated soon, all the associated objects under those control objectives will be moved over to the retained control objective at the end of the process. So policies, your citations, your statements, test templates, etc., will be moved over and will be retained. But the impacted items are the ones that you need to take care of before you close out the rationalization process. The impacted item meaning controls, your open issues, or policy exceptions, which are specifically created and open for that control objective. You might want to review them or close them out, or move over as appropriate, because at the end of the process, those will be retired as well, along with the control objective.
Excellent. Thanks, Anushree. I suppose, yeah, you've shown it today very quickly over 20 minutes, but could you comment on, when you were speaking to customers, I thought it was a really insightful point. These typically wouldn't be done over 20 minutes. It's, more of a longer term point with regards to change management anyway in the business. Could you comment on that in terms of what you've heard from customers?
Absolutely. So what we've heard from customers is this takes a few weeks to months to perform the whole rationalization process. First of all, to understand what are the similar control objectives or duplicates that might exist in the system, and then go through the process to identify the similar ones, and then move over all these associations manually, understand, change the references. So this is a quite heavily manual process, and takes a few months even for some customers. Even with the rationalization process, of course, it won't be like a 20 minutes process for sure, but it'll definitely reduce your time to understand like what are the similar control objectives recommended by the system, or the associations that are automatically added to the retained control objective. So this will definitely reduce the time that takes to rationalize or deduplicate control objectives, but it'll still be a longer process, because you definitely need to review everything as at the end of the process. There will be impact on some of the items here. So definitely there's a review process, but it'll definitely reduce your time from months to maybe weeks. Any other
Amazing.
questions?
Thanks, Anushree. I'll ask the team, is there any other questions that you think we should read out live? I'll ask like Shivam, Anushree, anything that you think from the Q&A chat?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll try to get to the other questions as is, but if we can't get to them live, then we will try and follow up with you. That's why it's important to put it in the Q&A, because that's persistent after the webinar ends. So Andy, if you don't mind going back to the slide deck and taking
No
control, we can
problem.
cover out the end of the session. I thank you so much for your time today. As I said, we'll try and get to as many questions as we can. If you're looking for additional support, help, training and certification, our expert services, here's some QR codes. When you get the deck, there's links in there. But one of the best places that I can guide you in looking for interaction support and engagement or knowledge is our community. So we have, and if I think there's another slide talking about the GRC product hub. Andy's team, besides interacting with customers, doing incredible roadmap sessions and webinars and creating content, a lot of this is shared within our community. And his team is doing things from supporting onboarding through generating those onboarding kits to providing information on domains. And a lot of guidance is coming out around that. There's also events and demos and release notes. So definitely check out the community if you haven't already, because it's also a great place to interact with others. Here's a couple of additional ways to stay connected to us. Obviously, you guys are aware of our website. And there's our YouTube link that I believe I put in the chat for everybody to watch our webinars. Finally, I would encourage anyone that is anywhere on your journey with ServiceNow to consider attending Accelerate. Accelerate is going to be combined with the security event called Connect that we've done for the past couple of years. And it's going to be a joint integrated risk management, all of our products from IRM through TPRM in that integrated risk family. BCM will be focused as well as privacy, but we're also going to join that with our security customer event. So if you're interested or you have colleagues that are interested in security, definitely same event. You'll have a risk track, a risk and security track, a security track. And the most important thing I can encourage you to attend that for is to interact with your peers. Our product experts will be there, but some of the best learnings you're going to get are from colleagues like you working at other companies that are using ServiceNow. So finally, I think that's about it. I want to thank our participants on the phone and in the chat who continue to answer questions as I'm talking. But if we didn't get to your question, we can capture those in the Q&A and follow up with you afterwards. Thank you so much for your time. I know there was a lot that we went through today. The recording will be available in the community and on that YouTube channel. And if you need any further assistance, please check in with your rep. They'll get you in touch with Andy for roadmap sessions or specific information about your your vision. But then we also have our customer folks that can really interact with you about your specific needs and your specific environment. And I think some of you saw that in our chat that one of our partners stepped in and was helping us out. So keep them in mind too as you're moving forward with your implementations and your journey with ServiceNow. So thank you so much for joining us. If there's anything else, put it in the Q&A. We'll be here for a couple minutes. But thanks for your time today. Really appreciate it.